The millionaire customer had no idea that the plainly dressed waitress he dismissed was actually 10 times wealthier than himself. A single phone call would ignite a nightmare that would last the entire night. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing shadows across polished marble floors as evening's elite settled into Lumière's reserved tables. This wasn't dinner, it was theater, where wealth performed for wealth, where every gesture carried status and every conversation displayed power. Tom Hardy adjusted his Rolex as he surveyed the restaurant with practiced authority. His bespoke Tom Ford suit, charcoal with subtle pinstripes, cost more than most earned in months. At 45, Hardy commanded attention through presence alone. His signature beard was meticulously groomed, blue eyes holding the intensity that made him Hollywood's most sought-after actor. Tonight was crucial. Across sat Victoria Sterling, media mogul whose production company he desperately needed. This deal could net $200 million, cementing his transition from actor to entertainment empire builder. The maitre d' approached with deference. "Mr. Hardy, your table awaits. Everything will meet expectations?" Hardy nodded curtly, Birmingham accent barely detectable after years of coaching. "It better be perfect, Francois. Empire-changing business tonight." Seated at the coveted corner table with panoramic views, Hardy felt the familiar rush of belonging. Soft conversation murmurs, crystal percussion, white truffle aromas. This was his domain. "Extraordinary choice," Victoria said, appreciating the opulent decor. "I understand why this is your sanctuary." Hardy smiled calculatedly. "Only perfection suffices, like our imminent partnership." From across the room, Elena Rodriguez observed with trained perception. At 31, she possessed understated elegance that rendered her invisible, precisely intended. Black hair secured professionally, regulation uniform worn with unconscious grace. What Hardy couldn't fathom was that Elena commanded wealth dwarfing everyone's combined fortunes. Elena had built her empire through AI and renewable energy, transforming a startup into a multi-billion conglomerate before 30. Her companies employed 50,000 across 4 continents. Tonight, she wasn't Elena Rodriguez, tech visionary. She was a waitress researching wealth disparity for an investigative documentary. Manager David Chen approached. "Table 9 needs attention. Celebrity treatment. Hardy demands perfection, tolerates nothing less." Elena nodded, collecting notepad and pen. 4 months at Lumière had taught her the ecosystem of entitlement governing privileged clientele. Invisible people heard everything. Approaching table 9, she intercepted conversation fragments confirming the evening's significance. This transcended dinner. This negotiation would reshape industries. "Good evening," Elena said professionally. "Welcome to Lumière. Beverages to start?" Hardy glanced up, piercing eyes scanning her appearance with casual dismissal. His gaze lingered on her simple ponytail, makeup-free face, modest uniform, clearly not designer quality. "Listen," Hardy said, gravelly tone dripping condescension. "I need someone who understands fine dining serving tonight. Could you fetch a proper server, someone who looks like they belong in an establishment of this caliber?" Words hit Elena like blows, though her expression remained neutral. Victoria shifted uncomfortably, but said nothing jeopardizing business. Elena maintained composure, boardroom negotiations having taught emotional masking. "I assure you, I'm fully qualified for excellent service. Extensively trained in wine selection and menu preparations." Hardy leaned back, smirking as he looked her over deliberately. "Trained extensively? In what exactly? Taking orders and carrying plates? Honestly, you don't scream fine dining expertise, more like someone who wandered from the local diner." Something cold crystallized in Elena's chest. She'd faced hostile boards, negotiated with world leaders, revolutionized industries, but Hardy's casual cruelty ignited rare fury. "I understand your concerns," Elena replied steadily, despite internal storms. "Perhaps speak with management about service preferences." "What I'd prefer," Hardy said, voice rising enough to carry, "is not explaining basic hospitality to someone who doesn't understand the difference between McDonald's and Michelin stars. Look at yourself. See other servers dressed like they raided charity shops. Heads turned, diners noticing commotion." Victoria murmured, "Tom, perhaps we should order," but Hardy warmed to his theme. screen intensity now directed at humiliating someone beneath notice. This is exactly what's wrong with society: collapsed standards. People showing up anywhere without understanding protocol or presentation. She probably doesn't know Burgundy from Bordeaux. Elena's crisis management training kept her voice level despite burning fury. Happy to accommodate wine pairing requests. Our sommelier is available for consultation. Brilliant, Hardy said theatrically, bringing someone who actually knows their job. Tell me, sweetheart, did you finish secondary school or drop out for this illustrious service industry mediocrity career? The restaurant quieted, conversations dying as patrons witnessed unfolding drama. Elena felt dozens of eyes, collective discomfort rippling through dining room. But something else happened. Elena withdrew her phone, not basic staff model, but cutting-edge device she'd personally designed. Fingers moved with practiced efficiency. I'll need a moment ensuring absolutely best service tonight, Elena said, voice taking subtle steel Hardy was too self-absorbed to notice. Hardy waved dismissively. Take all the time needed. Maybe find someone qualified for our table. Elena stepped back, maintaining professionalism as she raised the phone. Marcus, Elena here. Need comprehensive background check on Tom Hardy, the actor. Everything finances, business dealings, associations, legal issues. How quickly? Hardy pontificated about declining service standards, oblivious to nearby conversation. Excellent. Send immediately. Also pull Lumière's ownership structure. Cross-reference subsidiary holdings. May need management decisions tonight. Hardy noticed Elena on phone, scowling. Taking personal calls while working? Exactly what I mean. Complete unprofessionalism. Elena ended the call, expression perfectly composed. Apologies for delay. Ensuring your evening receives deserved attention. Perhaps now we can order, Hardy said, patience exhausted, assuming you're capable of writing simple requests without making hash of it. Elena opened Notepad. Of course. What would you like? Hardy studied wine list with exaggerated attention, clearly testing Elena's knowledge. The 1996 Domaine de la Romane Conti. You know what that is? Elena's expression didn't change. The Burgundy? Excellent choice. That vintage runs £12,000 per bottle. Shall I have sommelier decant it? Hardy blinked, not expecting specific knowledge. Obviously I know the price. Money isn't concern for someone in my position. Of course not, Elena replied smoothly. As they ordered, Elena's phone buzzed. She glanced at Marcus's message and felt cold satisfaction. Hardy's net worth, while impressive by ordinary standards, was fractional to public claims. Recent investments performed poorly, production ventures hemorrhaging money. Most interesting, his management company had taken substantial loans maintaining operations. Elena finished taking orders professionally. 30 minutes for appetizers, sommelier bringing wine immediately. Turning to leave, Hardy called after her. Ensure kitchen understands timing is crucial. We're not here for leisurely evening with substandard service. Elena paused, looking back. I'll ensure your evening receives exactly the service you deserve, Mr. Hardy. Something in her tone made Victoria glance sharply, but Hardy dismissed Elena entirely. In the kitchen, Elena found head chef Antoine Dubois reviewing orders. He'd developed deep respect for her dedication during months of research. Table 9 ordered tasting menu, Elena said quietly. Prepare exactly to specifications, but I want presentation adjustment. Antoine raised eyebrows. What kind? Elena's smile was razor sharp. The kind teaching difference between earned respect and inherited arrogance. Meanwhile, Hardy regaled Victoria with industry stories, voice carrying familiar arrogance. Problem with actors today, Hardy gestured with wine. They don't understand business side. Think talent alone suffices. Real success requires vision, leveraging your brand into something bigger. Elena returned with appetizers arranged with Lumière perfection, plus one subtle addition serving as opening move in her orchestrated game. Sustainably sourced scallops with microgreens from our private garden, she announced neutrally. Hardy barely glanced. Make sure kitchen knows. Main course medium rare, not medium. Can't stand chefs thinking they know better than customers. Chef Dubois has prepared this dish 12 years. Studied under 3 Michelin masters in Lyon before joining us. Hardy looked up sharply, irritated by perceived contradiction. Don't care if he studied under Gordon Ramsay. I know how I like food prepared. Elena nodded respectfully. I'll communicate preferences exactly as specified. As they ate, Elena retreated to observation point near service station. Additional information from Marcus revealed Hardy's situation was more precarious than initially indicated. He'd invested significantly in collapsed cryptocurrency ventures, wiping out 40% of liquid assets. His wealth persona was maintained through careful image management and strategic debt. Elena's phone rang. Richard Blackstone, CEO of Meridian Entertainment Group, parent company owning both Lumière and the studio Hardy desperately needed. Elena, darling. Richard's refined British accent came through clearly. Hope I'm not interrupting research. Perfect timing, Richard. Having quite educational evening. Learning something valuable about service industry? Elena's eyes flicked toward Hardy's table, where he complained loudly about wine temperature. Learning about human nature. What do you know about Tom Hardy's business situation? Pause before Richard responded. His team's been persistent about studio deals. From what I understand, he's somewhat desperate financially. Why? Considering whether Meridian should do business with someone treating service staff like subhumans. Richard's tone sharpened. Has he been troubling you? Elena, I don't tolerate that behavior regardless of celebrity status. Nothing I can't handle, but Hardy might benefit from lessons about respect and humility. Need me to intervene? Security can remove him immediately. No, Richard, this calls for more educational approach. Let me handle this my way. Elena approached sommelier Marcus Chen, who developed considerable respect for her during Lumière tenure. Marcus, need a favor. Table 9 ordered 96 Romane Conti. Want you personally presenting it, mentioning something specific. Marcus raised eyebrows. What kind of something? Elena's smile held dangerous edge. Mention this bottle was donated by one of our investors. Someone believing fine wine should be accessible to people truly appreciating it, not just affording it. As evening progressed, Elena continued serving with flawless professionalism while watching Hardy's behavior with scientific fascination. His treatment of staff worsened as wine flowed. He sent back soup for being too hot, complained about inadequate lighting, made crude comments about female staff within Elena's earshot. Victoria, uncomfortable with Hardy's boorish behavior, attempted steering conversation back to business, but Hardy seemed more interested in demonstrating perceived superiority. Problem with places like this? Hardy said loudly enough for neighboring tables. They hire people with no business in fine dining. Look at our waitress, probably never eaten here as customer in her life. How can someone like that understand real service? Adjacent couples exchanged uncomfortable glances. Elena noticed other patrons looking openly disgusted by Hardy's behavior. Time for the next phase. Elena approached carrying wine Marcus prepared, expression maintaining professional mask despite burning fury. Mr. Hardy, your sommelier wants to present wine selection personally. Marcus appeared carrying decanted wine with ceremonial reverence. Mr. Hardy, honor presenting this exceptional 1996 Domaine de la Romane Conti. This bottle was graciously donated by our most valued investor, someone believing truly great wine should be shared with people genuinely appreciating its artistry. Hardy preened at assumed deference to refined palate. Naturally, understanding wine marks true sophistication. Marcus poured taste with theatrical precision. Indeed, our benefactor specifically requested this wine only for guests embodying values of respect, humility, and genuine appreciation for excellence. Something in Marcus's tone made Victoria look sharply, but Hardy was too absorbed in self-importance to notice subtle warning. Elena smiled coldly as she watched Hardy taste the wine, completely unaware that the donated bottle was actually from her personal collection, worth more than his entire monthly income, served to teach him a lesson he'd never forget. Hardy swirled the wine expertly, inhaling its bouquet with theatrical appreciation. Magnificent, he pronounced loudly, ensuring nearby tables could hear his sophisticated assessment. Complex notes of cherry and earth, with that distinctive minerality you only get from true Burgundy terroir. Obviously, someone with refined taste selected this. Hardy paused mid-sip, something in Elena's tone triggering an instinctive wariness. What about it? Well, Elena said, her professional mask beginning to slip away like shed skin. This wine comes from a very special collection. The owner is someone who believes that true appreciation comes from understanding not just what you're consuming, but who made it possible. Marcus cleared his throat meaningfully. The benefactor I mentioned, she's actually here tonight. Hardy's brow furrowed. Here? Which table? Elena's smile was razor sharp now, all pretense of servility evaporating. You're looking at her. The words hung in the air, like a perfectly timed explosive. Hardy's expression shifted from confusion to disbelief to dawning horror as the implications sank in. That's impossible, he said, his voice cracking slightly. You're just a waitress. Hardy picked it up with trembling fingers, his face draining of color as he read, Elena Rodriguez, founder and CEO, Rodriguez Industries, net worth $4.2 billion. Victoria Sterling gasped, recognizing the name immediately. Elena Rodriguez was legendary in tech circles, the woman who had revolutionized artificial intelligence and green energy before most people her age had figured out their careers. You see, Mr. Hardy, Elena continued, her voice now carrying the unmistakable authority of someone accustomed to boardrooms and billion-dollar decisions. I've been conducting research on wealth inequality and the treatment of service workers. Tonight has been particularly illuminating. Hardy's mouth opened and closed soundlessly, his earlier arrogance evaporating like mist in sunlight. The wine you're drinking? It's from my personal cellar. This restaurant? I own a controlling stake through one of my investment firms. That studio deal you're so desperate to secure with Victoria's company. Meridian Entertainment is one of my subsidiaries. The blood drained from Hardy's face as the full scope of his catastrophic error became clear. He had spent the entire evening humiliating someone who literally owned his future. Elena Rodriguez, Victoria whispered, her own face pale with mortification. Tom, do you realize what you've done? But Elena wasn't finished. She gestured to the other diners, many of whom were now openly staring at their table. You wanted to know about standards, Mr. Hardy? Let me tell you about real standards. Real standards mean treating every human being with dignity, regardless of their position. Real class means understanding that respect isn't something you give only to people who can benefit you. Hardy tried to speak, but Elena held up a hand, silencing him with the same casual authority he had wielded over her all evening. Hardy's hands were shaking now, the wine glass trembling in his grip. I didn't know. If I had known who you were. That's exactly the problem, Elena interrupted, her voice cutting through his stammering like a blade. You didn't know, and you didn't care to know. You made assumptions based on appearance and position, and those assumptions revealed everything about your character. The game was no longer beginning, it was in full swing, and Elena Rodriguez was playing by rules Tom Hardy was only just beginning to understand.